We're not the suits that talk football. We're the dudes that know football. And you've just crossed over into the trend zone. Dave here with Casey, and we are the football dudes. Are you ready, brother?
Hell yeah, I'm ready, dude. I waited all summer through training camp. I'm preseason. I am ready to go, Dave.
Next stop, the trend zone. And it
Ow!
is August 31st. It is a Sunday here in Los Angeles. It's quite warm out there. It's a beautiful 77 degrees here on the west side, Casey.
Only 92 in the Sherm, but maybe we'll take a dip in the pool a little bit later. Got to cool down.
Nice. Nice. All right, Casey. In today's episode, we'll talk about the gruntling of a superstar. We'll also talk about our fantasy draft, which took place earlier today. And we'll bring to the people's attention a little survivor tips here and there. And of course, we will talk about all of the awesome games coming up in week 1 of the NFL season. But Casey, is there a nug out there for the people? Because we can't take a trip into the trend zone without a tasty nug for. Can we? There's
Yeah,
no nug?
no, Dave, we're never going into the trend zone without a tasty nug. And if you're talking about the gruntling of a superstar that I think you are, I believe that superstar is Micah Parsons, who his new deal, which we'll get into at 47 mil a year,
Woo!
makes him higher paid than Patrick Mahomes.
What? That's ridiculous, Casey. Mahomes, yeah,
What's that guy done?
yeah, he's collecting Lombardi trophies for his cupboard. Oh
Hey,
man,
but the
that's
other guy's got a podcast.
oh okay, all right. There's a lot of that going around, huh? Everybody and their grandmother's got a podcast now, Casey.
Hey, we got a podcast, and my grandma's not even here.
You should tell her to tune in, man. All right, Casey, let's move on to the top trending story. And we're going singular this time because it is a story that hits close to home. We just obviously alluded to it. It is the trading of Micah Parsons. And Casey, you've got the behind the scenes, uh, the info. You're in justification mode at this point. What do you got for us?
My I initially did not think this trade was going to happen. I thought there was no way that it would. And
No
then when
way.
it did, my first thought was like, we should have gotten more for this guy.
Yep.
Got Green Bay's first round draft pick in 26 and 27 and brought over defensive tackle Kenny Clark from the pack. And having a little bit of time to process it, getting all the information out there. I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah's podcast, who I like a lot. And he said around the team last year, when he was talking to the people he knew, they said the Dak deal was for sure going to get done, that the CD deal was for sure going to get done, and that the Micah deal was kind of still up in the air. So
Hmm.
you've heard rumblings about potential trading of this guy the last couple of seasons. I didn't put any credence into it, but the more you hear about the guys inside with the team, the more it's starting to make sense. And you saw Micah at the last preseason game laying on the training table.
Hmm.
That's kind of the first we saw of it outside, but inside the team, there's like, this is what we have been seeing. So there was some behavioral issues there, but I think one of the big things was obviously it went south with Jerry and Micah. Jerry thought they had a deal. Micah and his agent did not. And once that trust was broke with Jera, all bets were off, and it was time to move on from Micah. Obviously, losing one of the best pass rushers in the league, and you're not getting help this year, although it did free up space, and the Cowboys just today extended Deron Bland, one of the top DBs in the league. So now they have money to play with, $42 million. So there is money to go around, Dave, and I don't know how you can have, over $100 million of your salary cap going to just 3 players, which it would have. So why it sucks to lose Micah, it's hard to have 3 players taking up that much money.
Yeah, and it did sound like this had become pretty soured at the end there,
Mm-hmm.
Casey. It sounded, from what I was hearing, that Jera was basically planning on never giving Micah the big deal this year and making him play on that measly $24 million
How can you
contract.
feed your family on that, Dave?
Right. So, and he was just leading him along the whole way. and was basically going to force Micah to come in and just take that money and then get his big payday the next day. Micah felt like he needed to be shown that big bag right now. I kind of agree with you. Doesn't feel like they got enough back, the
Mm-mm.
Cowboys, in this trade. But also, like you said, when you look at the two players for the pack with the quarterback Love and Micah now, that's right around $100 million in contracts. I know they work the cap magic and everything, but those are real numbers. And the cap is 250 million, so that's a lot of money going to a couple of players. And they won't have those cheap first rounders, relatively speaking,
Yeah.
to fill up the cupboard again in the future. Those go to the Cowboys. So
You
it is
know,
what it is. It's a shocking trade. I don't
yeah,
think anyone saw it coming, really.
no. And one last thing too, there is like to get that 47 million that Micah wanted, the team needed to see leadership out of him. He had
Mhm.
that window to do it. And you saw the way he was eating the nachos laying on the table in the preseason. That never came to fruition. I think that helped make this decision a lot easier for the franchise. And on the outside, they talk about the culture problem the Cowboys have. You're starting over with Brian Schottenheimer. It's a whole new regime. Let's see if that culture talk was a deal. And if everybody hasn't bought in to moving forward, then you had to do something about it. So obviously they're not better right now, but we'll see what happens down
Yeah,
the
new
road.
defensive coach there too, and Eberflus. The Floozy's got one less piece to play with, but some pretty good talent on that side of the football still.
Yeah. And they love Izaraku coming in the second round draft pick for the Cowboys. So Sam Williams coming back from injury. They brought back Dante Fowler, who had double digits with the Commandos last year. So the bigger problem with this defense has obviously been stopping the run. We'll
Kenny
see
Clark.
if Kenny Clark comes over now. Him and Odigizua in the middle. That should help. We'll see. It's not going to get any easier on Thursday night, though, I'll tell you that.
All right, Casey, moving on to, as I mentioned previously, we did have our fantasy draft. We do go through NFL.com. And needless to say, there was a massive glitch.
Yeah, like in the 10th round of our draft, the site crashes. NFL.com on the weekend before the season in their fantasy draft room crashes. It's unbelievable. You had one job. NFL.com should have the best fantasy site out of everybody, and it crashed on us. A lot of us got stuck with auto picks and added those crucial bench spots with no determining factor on how we got them. I got a defense I didn't want. I got a tight end I didn't want, and my bench is what it is. So NFL.com, do better, please. That's an embarrassment, Dave.
Yeah, I was in full panic mode. I had my laptop booting up. I was on a different, I went from Chrome to Edge to see if something was up. And then I heard my phone going berserk, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I clicked on there, and everybody's off. And we
Yeah.
were all waiting for the server to come back up or the client to reload or some nonsense. Yeah, I had fortunately was on kicker, defense, and tight end towards the end there, and I had queued up a handful that I liked. So it wasn't a disaster for me. Um, but yeah, it was overall. Yeah, like you said, it's pretty disappointing not to be able to hand pick your defense, your kicker, your tight end in that maybe that last bench piece to fill out the roster to fill out your weakest spot. But yeah, overall, I'd say we got around through round 10 or 11 and
Yeah.
made our picks. Did you find that you were pleased?
Yeah, I like my team. I had the sixth pick overall in our 12-team league, standard scoring non PPR. So I went with the King, Derrick Henry, followed that up
Beautiful.
with James Cook. And then I got Josh Allen. I've been wanting this guy in the draft for a while. You plug him in, you get your 30 each week. You don't even have to worry about it. So
And you're off the Patrick Mahomes kick that from the last couple of seasons.
yeah, and so you know what, he's going to go
Amen.
off this year though, but yeah, it makes it easier for us to get along. So, what do you have a favorite pick on your squad?
Not so much, Casey. I took a standard approach for myself. I was the 10th selection in the 12-team league, and I had Jonathan Taylor. That was my best running back for that location there. On the back side of that, with the 15th pick, I got Kyron Williams, who I know you enjoyed having on your team last year. So Then I went to receivers. I got Higgins, Devontae Adams, George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, all straight in a row there. So I filled out those positions. I felt pretty good about my team overall. Ended up with Kyler Murray in the 10th, Justin Herbert in the 12th. So went low on quarterback in order to sort of load up on wide receiver and running back early there. So um, tight end was auto picked for me, thank you, but it was Goddard. So if it's healthy, he's pretty good.
Yeah, I might be a little thin at receiver. My starters are Jerry Judy, Roma Dunze, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm expecting big things
Yeah,
out of Harrison Jr. in his
you need
second
some
year.
takeoffs
But
for those guys. Yeah.
yeah, to let my running backs do their thing and Josh Allen. So we'll see. And the football dudes are doing battle week 1. So we'll hear all about it next week after we recap the action.
All right. No doubt about it. Foul Boys versus the Lightning Strikes. All right, Casey, let's move it along. Survivor, we do the 3 strikes version. And obviously, we don't have anything going except for the picks that we're heading into in week 1. Last year, week 1 through 5, I think, was absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
Is this going to be as bad this year? There looks like to be some decent picks here early, but
Yeah, well, Dave, over 30% of the country is leaning on the Broncos picking up where they left off, going to Tennessee to take on the Fighting Cams down there. 32% at that. Next up are the Commandos beating the Giants. Then the Cards beating the Saints. And then the Eagles beating my Cowboys. And if you're feeling really saucy, the battle for Ohio,
woo.
Cincy at Cleveland. But don't forget, these Bengals lost to the Patriots week 1 last year. So,
Yeah,
fire
I don't like
beware.
that Cincy track record doesn't keeps me off that one. But I don't know about that first one, the 32% with Denver over Tennessee. I look at that more as a negative approach to the Tennessee squad right now than I do to that Broncos squad. Although that defense is going to be a treacherous introduction to the NFL for a rookie quarterback there in Tennessee. All right, Case. We're going to move it on to the actual action, the game previews for week 1 in the NFL, Casey.
Week 1?
Week 1, man.
Is it too early?
I don't know. Is it?
No, because it's slipping away.
It
David
already
just
feels
got
like
here and it's slipping away.
we're flying through the season here, folks. All right, we'll get it started on Thursday Night Football. It is your Cowboys at the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And this game has the Eagles favored by 7.5.
Yeah, and why wouldn't it be 7.5? Obviously, the Cowboys are without pass rushing specialist Micah Parsons. He's a cheesehead now, so the Cowboys will have to find their pass rush. And I went into that a little earlier, so I'm not going to go back in the show and you can listen to that. What I really want to see is this new look offense. Brian Schottenheimer in his debut as the new head coach there for the Cowboys promised a lot of motion and promised a lot in the run game. I want to see Dax looked healthy in the preseason. I love the chemistry he's building up there with Pickens. So George Pickens back, CD Lamb, Cavante Turpin, Ferguson at tight end. If this O-line has been rebuilt like we hope that Booker could come in and help solidify that thing, the Cowboys will be hopefully explosive on offense. Defense is still a question mark, but hopefully Kenny Clark coming over helps stop that run against Saquon and Jalen and company. But you know it's going to be going off in Philly. They're highly motivated to beat the Cowboys. They're getting the banner on Thursday night. The entire world will be watching, Dave. Do we need any more help for these Eagles?
Yeah, this is a huge game, obviously. Just like you said, all eyes on this game. This is going to have monster numbers, no doubt about it. And the Super Bowl champion Eagles look to be bringing back a team that, is largely as good, if not better, than last year's squad. Hurts back, Saquon Barkley, who ran amok last year, the offensive line, which is arguably the best in football. They did lose Mekhi Becton to the Chargers, who was a big piece for them, literally. But this team is loaded. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. They brought in John Mechie there in a trade late to provide some depth there. Dallas Goddard at the tight end position, my new tight end in fantasy, and this defense with the young secondary that really excelled last year with a couple of those high draft picks there. This is a complete Eagles team, um, top to bottom, both sides of the football. Yeah, this is going to be a fun game to see. To see if you guys can to derail the Super Bowl champions in their big ceremonial game there.
Yeah, it would shock the world, but hey, that's why they play the game. The good thing is, no matter what happens, got that mini bye week coming back and having a few days off extra to rest up and hit those gigantes week 2. All right, Dave, Thursday night football. What's better than that? Oh, a little Friday night football in Brazil. It is the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending AFC champions, at our Los Angeles Chargers. Dave, react.
Yeah. Chiefs favored by 3 in this one. I think that's a little generous, but who am I to say? Casey, I'm excited for this team. There's a lot of new, especially on the offensive side of the football. I did mention Mount Mekhi Becton. He is plugged in at right guard. Unfortunately, they did lose Rashawn Slater right after paying him and making him the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL there. But we do have the luxury of moving Joe Alt from the right side to the left, and we have an experienced right tackle in there. The offensive line is still the big question here. Omarion Hampton, the running back rookie, is very, very exciting in glimpses that we've seen of him. Najee Harris, they hope to be back after his mishap for the 4th of July. But the real key is we didn't have any weapons around Lad McConkey. Now, there's arguably a ton of weapons. Quentin Johnson was there and he was rising. He had a decent year, but you bring back Keenan Allen. You add Trey Harris in the 2nd round of the draft. You add Keandre Lambert-Smith in the 5th round. Bringing in Tyler Conklin at tight end and drafting Oronde Gadsden. There's a ton of exciting new weapons for Justin Herbert to deal with there. And on the defensive side, this was the defense that gave up the least amount of points in the NFL per game last year. I don't expect that to necessarily carry over, but I do think the defense is deeper and should be a top 10 unit in all likelihood.
Yeah, well, it's not going to get easy going up against these Chiefs, who many are saying have a better team than they did last year, and that team went 15-2. So that's bad news for the rest of the league, and they really hated the way they got manhandled in the Super Bowl. So they go out in the draft, and maybe the best tackle, Josh Simmons, falls to them at the end of the 1st.
Yep.
It's like the rich getting richer, and that's kind of where the trouble was with this team, was at the offensive tackle. So they're loving what they're getting out of Simmons so far in camp. Is he going to hyphenate Kelsey Swift? We talked about this before the news broke of the wedding, and I said, is this guy more concerned with being a pop diva, or is he committed to football? You said he was committed to football, and now he's committed to being a husband. So is this going to be Kelsey's last ride? If it is, dude, this could be a sneaky pickup for these guys. Robert Tonyan had a lot of prolific activity with A-Rod when he was in Green Bay. Can he work some of that magic with the Chiefs? It's going to be tough to get back to where they've been, but it seems like the Chiefs, all they do is win. Yeah. Little questionable there, receiver, obviously, with Rashee Rice suspended for a little while. So
Amen.
They're going to have the other guys, Worthy and Hollywood Brown, and maybe even Juju Smith-Schuster, pick up the slack until they get him back. But it's probably going to be the Chiefs. They're going to do Chief things. But, man, what a win that would be for the Chargers to get out there and shock them on opening week.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough because Spags puts out one of the best defenses in the league, no question. So we'll see a lot of, like I said, those new pieces on the Chargers. We'll see if they can put it together against a really good Chiefs defense. Okay, moving it on to Sunday, Casey, where we get things started off with the early slate of games, and we're going to get it started here with the Buccaneers at the Falcons, and the Bucs are favored by 2.5 on the road.
Yeah, and it seems like Baker Mayfield has come into his own each year. He's improved a little bit more, and they've got a ton of weapons around him. Obviously, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin still coming back from that gnarly injury last year, but they go out and get a Micah Parsons from Ohio State, and I think this guy is going to pay immediate dividends. They got Bucky Irving in the 4th round last year.
Wow.
And
what a beast.
He was just a tremendous asset, does a little bit of everything in this offense. So they're set there too. A little bit aging on the defensive side of the ball, but still a ton of great players there. So this is going to be a very solid squad. They've won the AFC South, I think, the last 4 years, something like that. So this is a big road game. They actually lost to these Falcons on the road last year, but this Falcons team, is this the year that it's finally coming together with them?
Yeah, we'll see. That Buccaneers O line is one of the best in the league, so they like to just manhandle their opponent. But yeah, this Falcons team, it's now Michael Penix's team, even though they do have a very expensive backup there just in case. But Penix, showed some flashes towards the end of last year when he got in there. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, really nice tandem of backs there. And with Drake London sort of ascending, Kyle Pitts has been a little disappointment, but who knows? With Michael Penix being the man pulling the trigger there, we'll see if this offense can kind of just have that excitement. There's a lot of mystery, I think, to how good can this Falcons team be, or will it take a little time for it to sort of to sort of click there?
Yeah, and I got to show a little love to my guy Billy Bowman Jr., the rookie out of Oklahoma, getting a starting position for the ATL on defense. I think the fans there are going to like that guy quite a bit. All right, Dave, moving forward, we got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns, a battle for Ohio, and the Bengals are 5.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah. And it would probably be more if people didn't, weren't just scared of the trend of the Bengals kind of sleepwalking their way into the season. But this is a Browns team that is, has some issues to it. Obviously, a plethora of quarterbacks, and Flacco's the man for the time being. Assuming things go well, he'll stay at the quarterback position behind him. Of course, Dylan Gabriel, the third rounder, Shador Sanders, the fifth rounder. But they had some trouble with the second round running back that they picked with Quinshon Judkins. He's not there. Little domestic violence issues outside of the squad, so they had to pick up Raheem Sanders from the Chargers cuts there. Disappointingly up front, I might add, because he's a good-looking prospect. But there's some talent on this team, no doubt about it. We'll just see if Flacco can play like the seasoned veteran that he is and, bring the team together. It's going to be a high-powered Bengal squad, though.
Yeah, and speaking of those Bengals, Joe Burrow and the starters played quite a bit
Yes,
in
they
the
did.
preseason there. So is that going to help them get past that notorious slow start they've had? And kind of everybody's fantasy darling, Chase Brown, jumping up all these draft boards. The offense is obviously going to be there as long as Flacco is healthy. They finally got Trey Hendrickson in, kind of worked the deal out to pay him this year. I think they might, move, have a departure at the end of the season. But can that defense do enough that the offense doesn't have to put up 40 every single week? But that's kind of TBD. But lots of expectation for these Bengals. And people are worried about that they're just wasting Joe Burrow's career and not putting a complete team around him. But when you pay Higgins and you pay Chase, it's hard to have money for the defense.
And you pay Hendrickson, really. I mean, even though they didn't give him the long-term contract, they did give him a big chunk of change.
That's right.
It's going to be a fun team to watch, though. No question about it. Okay, up next, let's take a look at the next game on our schedule for the morning on Sunday. It is the Dolphins at the Colts, and the Colts are at home here, favored by just 1.5 points.
Kind of weird that the Colts are favored in this thing, but when Tua's been healthy for the Dolphins, they've been a pretty good football team. Haven't gotten over the hump there,
Right.
but if they can keep Tua healthy, we've seen some gnarly concussions from this cat, so hopefully it's not like that again this season. But the weapons are plenty. HN, the running back, is really ready to take the lead role there, and Ollie Gordon has been pretty good as the number 2 back in the preseason. Was very prolific at Oklahoma State. Kind of had a down year last year, so I think that's why he's a little bit under the radar. But with Tyreek and Jaden Waddle, man, and even Malik Washington's been getting involved in that offense. Tons of weapons, and I like Westbrook Akine. He came over from the Titans. Make this guy more part of that offense. The big question mark is, though, They let Jono Smith at tight end go. You got Darren Waller coming out of retirement.
Yeah,
So, what does
plenty
this
of
guy have
question
left
there.
in the tank? I
Yeah.
know he was really wanting to be a rapper. So, hopefully, they can get healthier on defense, but it might be wearing a little thin with McDaniels there. So, Dolphins got to figure something out, and this year is the year it has to happen.
Yeah, I got a feeling this Colts team, Casey, on the other side, is going to be a little better, I think, than people have them chalked up to be here. Daniel Jones beat out Anthony Richardson in the quarterback duel. There was a 4th overall pick by the Colts, who I think they really wanted to win that job, and the
Yeah.
6th overall pick from the Giants a couple of years prior. Just played better than him more consistently. And I think that that's going to be a big difference for this squad moving into this season. They're going to want to just kind of play traditional run it, play defense, goods, don't turn the ball over kind of football. They got Jonathan Taylor there running the ball. I think some of these guys, the receivers, Pittman, Downs, and Pierce, there's some
Mm-hmm.
decent weapons there. And the rookie Tyler Warren is going to be, I mean, it's never know how quickly somebody acclimates, but boy, he's got a sort of a physical mean streak to him out there that's going to be fun to watch. And I like Shane Steichen, the guy, kind of can put together some game plans. So I think he can attack deep and also just hammer the football. It's going to be a pretty good Colts squad. We'll see, how good, but it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against this Dolphins team to start with.
Yeah, everybody giving that AFC South to the Texans before the season starts. I'd like to see what goes on with these Colts. See if Danny Dimeback cannot turn the ball over.
Yeah, and he can run too, just like Richardson. He's got legs.
Yeah, and he knows how to use them, Dave. All right, up next, it's a cat battle. Carolina Panthers at the Jacksonville Jags, and the Shags are 3-point favorites at home.
Okay, Carolina, let's go back to last year in the Wayback Machine. It was about the last 4 or 5 weeks that Carolina really started putting it together. They were in some football games down to the wire with some of the best teams in the NFL. And I think that is going to carry over for Bryce Young in particular, because he went through a lot. They benched him. He came back from that benching, and I think he learned. And as the season progressed, he played better and better football. This guy's got talent, and they've built around him. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to have an impact there, along with your guy Rico Dowdle. And Trevor Etienne, we'll see, what the other Etienne can do. But bringing in the big wide receiver to Tet McMillan there to go along with Xavier Legette, there's legit weapons to go to for Bryce Young. They should have a decent running game. You're going to have to determine how to cover McMillan and Legette out there. So this team, I think, has got a chance to surprise some people, and maybe it starts week 1 against the Jaguars.
Yeah, and I know down in Duval, they would like this team to surprise a lot of people because it just hasn't lived up to the expectation, especially with Trevor Lawrence, generational talents, shown some flashes, but needs to do more. That's why they moved up in the draft and went and got Travis Hunter. It'll be interesting to see how much defense he plays and how much offense he goes. But you're adding Travis Hunter to Brian Thomas, who had an incredible year last year on a team that didn't do much offensively. So you mentioned the other Etienne there, Travis Etienne. Still got to kind of hold on this starting running back position, but they need more out of him as well. A lot of talent on defense, but the time is now. They go out and get Cone to be the HC there. Hopefully he can have some of that mojo he had in Tampa on Trevor Lawrence and these Jags. So more now than ever, the Jags have to get jump-started, dude.
Okay, the NFL has got some good ones for us in week 1, including the Raiders at the Patriots, Casey, and New England is favored by 2.5 in this one.
Yeah, well, these Las Vegas Raiders, dude, they got the New England secret weapon of all secret weapons. We're talking Tom Brady. He's part of the Raider brass. And how different did these franchises go with the Tuck rule? What would it have been? Who knows? We don't know. But now Tommy's a Raider, and Geno Smith is also a Raider. That's the most stability this squad has had at quarterback in quite some time. They go out and they draft Ashton Genty, who, if he can pick up what he did at Boise State, is going to be a workhorse for these
Yep.
Raiders. Jacoby Myers a little gruntled right now, so they bring in Amari Cooper. Although Cooper hasn't looked like he's in great shape
Hmm.
in the preseason, but we'll see what happens in that mix there. And obviously, at tight end, Brock Bowers, a special player. So the Raiders are going to start turning this thing around. Is that in 2025 or is it in the following season? But yeah, Pete Carroll and Tom Brady to the mix. I expect good things are coming at some point for these Raiders.
Yeah, and Chip Kelly calling the shots over there, running that offense, I think, is one of the most unheralded or underrated offseason moves that any team has done there, too. Let's go to the Patriots side of the football, though, Casey. Drake May in his, is it second or third year now?
I think this
Second
is
or third?
second.
Yeah, second year. And second year of Coach Vrabel there. So it's going to be. A transition year. I love the draft pick Travion Henderson that they brought in early there. I thought he was a guy that your guy DeAndre Jeremiah just kept mentioning him for every team to
Mhm.
pick. This would be a guy. This would be a place where Travion Henderson would fit, and he is going to fit alongside Ramondre Stevenson to give them a nice 1-2 punch there. Stephon Diggs comes in to provide more weaponry for this young receiving group, and Hunter Henry, the grizzled veteran at tight end, still hanging out there. We'll see. This team is going to probably play some grimy games where, physical style of the head coach, and we'll see if they can, pull out some wins. Hopefully, week 1 against the Raiders.
Yeah, Vrabel's first year back with these guys, they shit canned
My
Gerard
mistake.
Mayo.
That's right. It
Yeah,
was a one and done.
yeah.
My mistake.
So move out, former linebacker, move in a former linebacker, and all
Yeah.
is well in Patriotville. All right, up next, Dave, it is the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. And when was the last time the Cardinals were a 6.5 point favorite on the road?
Wow. That is yeah. I cannot answer that, Casey. But I'm looking for a healthy Kyler Murray to get the season started, and I want him to be Kyler Murray, the Kyler that runs around and can create crazy plays, move the chains with his legs, yes, but also get down, throw the ball deep, let the wide receivers, continue to run around and get open late in the play. And you've got Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, and Zay Jones there, even Dortch, some dudes that can do it, looking for that next real step from Marvin Harrison. Sort of had a slow start to the career there, but then really started getting stuff done. And then Trey McBride, sneaky, one of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. Took him a long time to get into the end zone last year, but ultimately, I think that's going to come back in big time this year. So we'll see how this Cardinals team looks. Be fun.
Yeah, yeah, and the Saints, man, not a lot of expectation coming out of New Orleans for first year head coach, the youngest looking coach in the history of coaches, former Dallas Cowboy offensive coordinator, former Philadelphia Eagle offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore,
And
fresh
Charger
off
coordinator.
and Charger coordinator. Is this guy not coordinator? How's he had all those coordinator jobs? He's like 12 years old, but he is coming off of that Super Bowl championship with the Eagles. Spencer Rattler, kind of by default, is the starting quarterback for these Saints.
Yeah.
Had a lot of growing pains at Oklahoma before he transferred to South Carolina. Got thrown into the fire last year. Let's see if he can clean up some of the mistakes he was making when he got to OU. A live arm. The ball really jumped out of his hand, but it was the other stuff, making the good decisions. He's got a lot of help. A healthy Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. They brought back Brandon Cooks, who I think was never really healthy last year for the Cowboys, and they got Devon Vele from the Broncos. Had a nice rookie year with them. They were still willing to let him go. So there are some weapons there. They gave Kamara the big bag last year. Some aging superstars on defense with some young talent, but my expectation for these Saints this year is pretty low.
Yeah, I think so too. So I would think that Rattler better, you know, better play well. Otherwise, they're going to have to try Shuck or even Hayner. So nobody's job is safe there.
Mm.
Um, at this point in time. Yeah, and it seems like this is the team that had been kicking the can down the road in terms of the salary cap for a long time. All right, moving it along, Casey. Up next, still in the morning slot, it is the Steelers at the Jets. Steelers are favored by 3.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin, it finally came together. It'll be interesting to see how that meshes. I thought last year, towards the end of the season, Rodgers was playing better football, coming off, a year
Yeah,
after that Achilles that he really came back pretty quick recovery from. So it took a little while. They go out and they spend the money on DK Metcalf in the offseason. They send Pickens to Dallas there. So I like Patrick Henry, Sarsipius Fryermuth.
who
They add
doesn't?
John O. Smith. They also have Darnell Washington. And at running back, they went out and drafted Caleb Johnson, but Jalen Warren, with Najee finally gone, is going to get the first chance at that. They get TJ Watt gruntled in the offseason, giving him the big bag, and they get Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. You might remember in the Cotton Bowl where he sacked, fumbled
Oh yeah,
Quinn Ewers, and took that ball back for the touchdown that put the Buckeyes up by 2 scores and to eliminate Texas on their way to the Natty. Tomlin's always got this team in the mix. Now you add a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. If he can stay healthy, who knows what could happen with these Steelers?
yeah, and they always play such good defense that he might not have to play hero ball over
Mhm.
there. Let's move it over to the Jets, though. Um, this is like a double vengeance game with uh, Rodgers playing the Jets, and then of course Fields was actually playing some good football for the Steelers last year. I believe he was 4-2 or something like that
Yeah.
when they pulled him and benched him, tell him he wasn't good enough. And they put in Russell Wilson, who ultimately did not play as well as him, statistically speaking, and didn't get as high of a win percentage either. Um, Now this team has said, "Hey, we want you," even though they didn't give him all the money in the world, but they do want him. He's clearly their starter. They've got Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. They want Justin Fields to use his legs. This is going to be a team that plays good defense and can run the football and get you with running the quarterback position, right? Not to mention there are some decent weapons there, Garrett Wilson, and they brought in through the draft Mason Taylor, who I think has got a shot to have an immediate impact on
Mhm.
this squad. Certainly, quarterback's best friend is the tight end there a lot of times, and just dumping that ball off. Jets have a solid defense. I couldn't stop the run, but or whatever it was last year, but we're still have a lot of pieces on that defense. So this should be a pretty good football game. I don't know. This is pretty exciting. It's going to be see what both of these quarterbacks can do.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A week 1 matchup with them being on the different squads this year moving in. All right, Dave, let's get grimy, bro. How about an NFC East battle? The New York Football Giants at the Washington Commandos. And those
Mm.
Does are 6-point favorites at home.
Yes, and this Giant squad is has the start of the season, which is the most treacherous I've seen in a long time. I'm not looking it up right now, but it is an absolutely brutal first 5 games. They've got Russell Wilson out there right now, but they drafted Jackson Dart, and they were really, really impressed with him
Mhm.
in the preseason and the whole process right now. Of course, they're waiting on that. They've got Tyrone Tracy. He's decent running back to pair up with Devin Singletary, and they bring in through the draft Cam Scadaboo. So they're going to come at you with some dudes running the football. Malik Neighbors was had an impressive rookie season to go along with Wandale Robinson there in Slayton. Um, yeah, this team is, I think, in a transitionary status. At some point, it's, I think that sooner rather than later, week 6, week 7, something like that, Jackson Dart is going to be
Yeah.
seeing the field for this group. So not so sure how they're going to fare against the Commandos.
Yeah, and it's possible the Commandos are better this year, but might not have the same record. Jaden
Yeah.
Daniels wins a Heisman, comes out, has a monster rookie campaign, kind of takes the league by storm. Let's see what happens now that the league has a year of film on him. Can they do anything to stop him? Because he was absolutely unstoppable last year. They
Yep.
run Robinson, the running back, out of town, so now Austin Eckler will get a bigger piece of that. But everybody loves your Corey Krosky Merritt. Had a
Yeah.
great preseason. Terry McLaurin gets the deal. He's feeling pretty good there. They bring in Debo Samuel that will have a very similar role that he had on the Niners there, and they go out and they bring in Larry Tunsil to get the left tackle situated there. So second year under Dan Quinn, can they get that defense playing a little bit better? This team made it to the NFC Championship last year, so anything less might be a failure, even if the team takes that next step. But it's a long season, and they start with a divisional game.
All right. Well, moving into the late slot on Sunday, it is the Titans at the Broncos in everybody's survival pick, apparently. Broncos at home favored by 7.5 in this one.
Yeah, dude, and I'm going to stay away from that one. Why? Because last year, whatever the hell you want to call Cam Ward was the Heisman Trophy winner, and all this dude did was keep getting better every stop he went. And this guy is a freaking maniac, dude. I was listening to one of my games, and they were talking about when this guy was at Washington State with Ben Arbuckle, every hour of his day was scheduled meetings, studying, practice. This guy is committed to his craft, and we might not see it early, but we are going to see it late. There's some nice weapons there. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, and Van Jefferson had a nice preseason there too. Tajay Spears, he's still not ready, but Tony Pollard really picked it up last year too. So I know they are completely stoked about Cam Ward. It might take a little while, so try to beat these Titans now, because sooner than later he's going to figure it out, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, well, this Broncos team, obviously under Coach Payton, has come a long way, and Bo Nix is a big part of that. In his second season here, he had a really nice. I mean, maybe took him about 5 weeks or 6 weeks before he really started playing some really good football last year, and they're looking for that to continue. Running the football, they have a fleet of backs with J.K. Dobbins. They drafted R.J. Harvey, Julian McLaughlin there, and also Tyler Batty. So really, they can come at you pretty deep at running back. Receivers, Cortland Sutton rather, really high quality, and your guy Marvin Mims there, and Troy Franklin, and then Pat Bryant has been getting a ton of talk during this preseason about how he's going to take over. That's why they were able to dish off Vele for a fourth round, mind you. That was a good deal for the Broncos. Then they also brought in Evan Engram in the offseason, and he's got a chip on his shoulder because he hasn't had the career I think that he thought he was going to have, and this is a great opportunity for him. These guys are going to want to run the football, but they can play defense. I mean, this defense is as good a squad as there is in the NFL, and it got better without a doubt. Yeah, you talk all the time about your guy Nick Benito, rightfully so. Super solid. But you got bring in Dre Greenlaw, bring in Huafunga, right? Hufunga. Yeah. So these are veteran quality guys to add to the mix there with. Patrick Surtain, Riley Moss was a high draft pick last year. High draft pick Jahdae Brown this year. I mean, geez, these guys are loaded top to bottom on defense. Zach Allen on the interior. This is a deep squad on the defense. They are fixing to be a top 10, top 5 type of defense that is going to be hard to score on.
Yeah.
Welcome to the NFL, rookie quarterback.
Yeah, he's gonna have the big eyes on Sunday. Ooh. All right, Dave, up next, it's an NFC West battle. The San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks, and the Niners are 2.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, in this Niners squad, obviously disappointing last year with all the injuries they suffered. Well, unfortunately, they're heading into this year with a slew of injuries at the wide receiver position. Obviously, McCaffrey missed the majority of last year. Fantasy owners such as myself know that pain very well. But Purdy is proven to be, capable of running Shanahan's system the way it's designed to be run. Throw the ball where it's supposed to be thrown, when it's supposed to be thrown. If McCaffrey, and they brought in Brian Robinson for insurance there against that. But if they can stay healthy, then they're going to be dynamic as can be. They're like I said, the receiver position banged up. They lose the dude who went to the Commandos, but thank you. But Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, obviously a tough start to his career, but a talented kid. And And then they got a bunch of other dudes that have a chance. Brandon Ayuk on PUP, unfortunately, at this point in time. But Kittle's still in the mix there, a blocker and a receiver there, one of the better tight ends in the league. Yeah, there's a little bit of a transition here, but I think that they feel like they're going to field a team that has every bit of a chance to win that division.
Yeah, Purdy got his payday. Let's see what the team looks like moving forward. But moving forward, too, this is the second year of the Mike McDonald. I'm going to go ahead and save my Doobie Brothers until next week, Dave. But
Thanks,
you
guys.
can guarantee it's coming back. Sam Darnold,
Very
the
exciting.
Vikings don't retain him. It'll be interesting to see what he does there. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, a great 1-2 punch there at running back. We mentioned DK Metcalf. He goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now it's Jackson Smith and Jigba's time. Dude, what a quick transition. And when this guy was the 3 receiver just last year with Lockett
Right.
and DK, now he is the number 1 guy there. They
Yeah.
go out and they bring in Cooper Kupp from our Los Angeles Rams, rebuilding this defense. They bring over DeMarcus Lawrence from my Cowboys. He and Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and Jaron Reed up front, getting this McDonald defense stylized. Can Sam Darnold have the kind of year he had last year as well? It's going to be an interesting week 1 matchup with a ton of divisional implications right out the gate.
Yeah, speaking of, Casey, we'll move it to the next game. One of the big games of the weekend, certainly one of the biggest games of the weekend. The Lions are at the Packers here, and the Packers are at home. Pack is favored by 2.5 in this one. Woo.
Yeah, and these Lions, they lose both coordinators. How can they rally from that? Ben Johnson taking his offense, keeping it in the division, and Aaron Glenn going to the Jets. Jared Goff had a really good year, was actually at an MVP level, and it kind of fell off a little bit down the stretch. And this team absolutely imploded in the divisional round. 5 turnovers. Otherwise, this team had serious chance to get to the Super Bowl. You know that's just fuel for the fire for Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Sam Laporta got a little banged up. But really on the defensive side of the ball, when they lost the big pass rusher there, everything just kind of, fell apart for these guys. They're getting healthier there. Aiden Hutchinson, not sure how far back he is. They really need him to get there. So staying healthy, especially on the defense side of the ball,
Yeah, the
hurt
injuries
them
on the
so bad
defense.
last year. It was ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
but both coordinators gone. When you have success, you start getting poached. Let's see how these guys respond to that.
Yeah, and on this Packers squad, this is going to be a real good Packers team. Jordan Love, definitely maturing into one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Josh Jacobs is a hammer running the football. They have a slew of receivers. I was blown away. They went ahead and got in the draft Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. Going along with Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks. I mean, this is a Christian Watson is on PUP. They are deep at young at wide receiver, and there's a lot of talent in there. So, wow,
And the 1-2 punch at tight end is pretty ridiculous as
Tucker,
well.
Kraft, and Musgrave, no question about it. On the other side of the ball, they have a pretty good. Do they have anybody that can get after the quarterback though?
Nothing's really ringing a bell, Dave.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. What about that guy they just acquired?
Oh, he's dead to me. I don't know who you're
Oh,
talking
Micah
about.
Parsons.
Oh, that
That's
guy.
who I'm thinking of right now. Yeah, let's see what kind of impact he can have in week 1. Is he going to be ready? Is that back an issue?
Seems fine now.
I know. Is he too full with nachos? I don't know. Let's find out. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can impact that side of the football for this Packer squad.
All right, Dave. And this is a little out there, but this could be a potential Super Bowl preview. We're talking the Houston Texans at our Los Angeles Rams, and the Rams are 2.5-point favorites at home.
Yeah, and this Texans team, I know all too well, has a very good defense. They worked over my Chargers in the playoffs last year before they took their exit. But C.J. Stroud, I guess this is his 3rd season, right? Now
Yeah.
we're thinking 3rd season. A little bit of a sophomore slump, but not much after that amazing rookie season that he had. Price situation here, though, they had to bring in Nick Chubb. There's a lot of question marks around Nick Chubb necessarily being ready to be a huge part of it. They have Damian Pierce, Woody Marks, some good younger backs there, but Joe Mixon on the NFI list. Hopefully he'll be good to go at some point in time. I did draft him in our fantasy. He's out, of course, for the first portion of the season. Then they have a bye, I believe, in week 6. So I wouldn't expect to see him until the latter half of the season.
Yeah.
Week 7 would be my guess there. Tight end Dalton Schultz, though, once they got him out of the Cowboys land there, has been a nice addition to this squad, no doubt about that. And obviously, like I mentioned at the top, this defense is just absolutely loaded. The corners, are some of the top corners in the league, with Singletary leading the way there.
Yeah, Singletary making that money. And then,
Big
Dave, you
money.
flip it over to these Rams, bro. They were so banged up last year and really a couple of plays away from beating
Amazing.
Philadelphia in Philadelphia. I'm a little worried about the Matthew Stafford back situation, although it seems to be okay now, but getting up there in age. So, but
Yeah.
with Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett, I feel like they have capable backups.
Yes.
To kind of hold the team above water until Stafford can get back if it comes to that. Kyron Williams been an absolute workhorse the last couple of years. They reward him with the big payday. They go out and bring in Devontae Adams, baby, to take over for Cooper Kupp. I love this fit on this
Yes.
offense between him and Puka. I think that's going to be bad things for opposing defenses there. And this defense, bro, I love it up front. Kobe Turner,
Mm-hmm.
Jared Verse, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, man. This was a team that was all kind of banged up and still did well. They're getting healthy. They've hit on a lot of these late round draft picks. Oh, let me show Blake Corum. I like him in this mix as well offensively. And, they're doing a great job, man. I love Sean McVay. There's a lot to be stoked for Ram fan.
No doubt about it. And that the only thing that I'm scared of, and you mentioned it, that bulging disc in Stafford's back. And
The
like you said,
bulging what?
yeah, I know. Sorry. I'm not
It's a
just happy to
family
see
show
it.
here, Dave.
Like you mentioned, having Jimmy G back there, I feel like, hey, you know what? He can keep the ship going in the right direction. All right, let's move it on to one of the big games. It's Sunday Night Football, Casey. It is the Ravens at the Bills. This is a huge one. Playoff implications, right? Buffalo is favored by 1.
Yeah, dude. And this is a team. How many Super Bowls would both of these teams have if it weren't for Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
We'd be probably talking about them
We should
much
talk more
differently.
about that injustice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's do something to get them out of the league. But no, both these quarterbacks, will start with Lamar Jackson, the MVP a couple of seasons ago, looking to play better. I don't know really how he can. He had a phenomenal year
Yeah.
last year. Derrick Henry was great in that backfield as well and started getting more production out of the wide receivers. Zay Flowers had a nice year, but got hurt playoff time. Bateman had some clutch catches there too. And DeAndre Hopkins, more time in this system. Hopefully that pays some dividends there for these guys. Tons of great players on defense too. This team is right where it needs to be. It just has to get over that Kansas City hump. It's kind of a bummer that this game is week 1 because I'd rather these teams be into the season to see this matchup, but maybe this will be a bookend AFC matchup as well come playoff time.
Yeah, no doubt. Both these teams have every right to think that they're going to be in the mix for the Super Bowl, and certainly in the playoff picture. Josh Allen, um, you know, he's phenomenal. It's fun to watch. Great with his legs and his arm. James Cook, a better back than I thought he was. When you look at the stats, they're just really impressive. Ray Davis, going into his second year, I believe, is a really nice addition at the running back room too, as well as Ty Johnson. So those 3 guys can really run the ball and really support Josh Allen back there. The receiving group a little bit younger. Obviously, they bring in Josh Palmer from the Chargers. Keon Coleman in his second season, looking to take another step forward. Khalil Shakir, clearly they're number 1 on this group, and then more Samuels and fill out the roster there. So those guys got some weapons. Two-headed tight end in Kincaid and Knox. So both of those guys can get you. So whether or not the defense is going to be up to the par. We shall see. They bring in Joey Bosa in the offseason to add to that mix with Greg Rousseau getting after the passer and Espinosa there. So, all said and done, this team, uh, this is going to be a real good game. And like I said, I wasn't even kidding. Playoff implications here. This could be for who hosts one of these big games in the playoffs down the road.
Yeah, both of these teams with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. The
Yeah.
season will be a disappointment if one of these teams doesn't represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. All right, Dave. Then we got Monday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears, and the Vikings are pointing to have favorites on the road.
Yeah, and we're going to get to see what J.J. McCarthy looks like. We have to wait a little bit longer. Then obviously the knee last year made us wait an entire year to see what the national championship quarterback could do. But this guy's an exciting, competitive young dude. They cleared the room out at some point last year. Minnesota had like 4 or 5 quarterbacks that were all legitimate, to be on this roster. They got rid of most of those guys here. They bring in Carson Wentz to be the backup, but this is McCarthy's big shot here. Aaron Jones running the football. Jordan Mason is another dude there to look out for in the running back position. But Justin Jefferson, as long as he can stay healthy, Addison comes into the season with a 3-game suspension, so he won't be in this one. That adds maybe a little bit more to the plate for some of the other guys. They brought back out Adam Thielen, though. Got a Thielen. That's a good news situation there. And Hawkinson at tight end, sneaky one of the better tight ends in the league, without a doubt. So this Vikings team was 15 wins last year, an unbelievable year. It's going to be hard to imagine they get to that number of wins again, but can they move further into the playoffs? So it all starts in an exciting game here against the Bears divisional.
Yeah, and lots of expectations coming out of Chicago's camp as well. They bring over
Yep.
Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions to lead the ship there and kind of get Caleb Williams back on track, dude. We've seen so many high draft picks at the quarterback position come to die in Chicago. They're really
Yep.
hoping that's not the case with Caleb. He developed a ton of bad habits in college. Ben Johnson is there to get this guy to play more within the system. Boom, here's your first read. First 2. If it's not there, get rid of or do something. Don't do your run around crap and try to throw it. Just try to get this guy making good decisions. DeAndre Swift had a nice season of running back last year, also with Roshan Johnson receiving. DJ Moore, they made the big trade. He came over from the Panthers. Roma Dunze in his second year was unstoppable at Washington. Kind of had a ho-hum year his rookie season to see if him and Caleb Williams can kind of expand on that. They draft Luther Burden to get in that mix too. And Zacchaeus has had a pretty good preseason with the Bears. They had the tight end Colston Loveland to Cole
Yep.
Kmet. That is going to be a sweet 1-2 punch there at tight end. Some easy reads, easy throws for Caleb to kind of keep the chains moving and keep on time with what he needs to do offensively. They shored up the offensive line. Some of the sacks were Caleb's fault. Some were just poor protection. Give him that pocket presence, make him feel okay so he can do what he needs to do there. So it'll be interesting to see how soon the Ben Johnson effect takes control over this team. But they want to start winning. But that is a brutal division, Dave.
Yeah. Plenty of hype and excitement, justifiably so, for this Bears squad. But yeah, like I said, tough division. And, here they go, starting off with this Viking squad that was smoking all last year. All
Gonna
right.
be good.
It is going to be good. Week 1 coming at you, folks. So many ways you can check out the Football Dudes. Trendzone is available for subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to the Football Dudes YouTube channel. Little tongue twister there. Like us on Instagram and Facebook, and go ahead and follow us on X at Football Dudes LA.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead and make sure you tag us on all those media platforms, or just head on over to footballdudes.com. It's all there for you. That is going to do it for this episode of the Trend Zone. We're not the suits that talk for football. We're the dudes that know football. For Casey, I'm Dave. We are out of here. Enjoy week 1, people.